music for the road for you, honey, out there from the Dance Alive. That's a little music called 2 Minutes of Music for the Road. This is all we got here tonight? Wow. This weather scared everybody off, I guess. Two minutes of music for the road. And there's 1 minute. I am the Dance Alive dancer, and got anybody? The weather scared everybody off. That's not supposed to start till midnight. Usually everybody shows up at the last 10 minutes, so we'll see. 2 minutes of music.
I'm the chair of the music department here at SWIC. Welcome. How many of you have never been in the Schmidt Arts Center before tonight? Wonderful. Well, welcome. This is our favorite place to have concerts, and I think you'll agree when you hear the music in this space and all the beautiful things to look at. It's a really nice combination. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Lots to do on a Saturday night, and you chose to be here, and that means a lot to us. So I just want to quickly remind you to turn, if you have one, turn off any electronic devices. I know you know better, but sometimes we forget. So there's your reminder. And I'm very excited to welcome this group that's behind me here, the Chamber Project St. Louis. We've been trying to make this happen for a long time, right? And it's happening. So thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over now to Dana Ho.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Dana, and I'm the Executive Director of Chamber Project. It's really great to be here in this beautiful space with you tonight. It's the first time we've played over here, and it's like the perfect room for what we do, so we're really excited about that. Our concerts are all themed at Chamber Project, so some of you have been to Chamber Project concerts and some of you are new. So our concerts are all themed, and our theme tonight is #TimesUp. So if you've been paying attention even a little bit, you've probably seen this, it's come across your radar, this Time's Up hashtag, which sprung out of the Me Too movement. And this all sort of started about a year ago. And just over a year ago, this hashtag Time's Up became a thing. And it was just at about that time that we were doing our programming for this year. And this movement really got our attention. The Time's Up movement is not just a movement, it's an organization that raises funds and provides assistance to people, particularly low-wage workers, who've experienced workplace sexual harassment and retaliation. And we were really inspired by these Hollywood women who were using their platform to not just raise awareness, but to create an organization that has a real impact on people's lives. So they provide funding and legal assistance to people who can't afford it or need help when they've been discriminated against in the workplace. And they've done an amazing amount of things in just a year. And so we were really inspired by this. And since our inception, we've used our slightly more modest platform to change the status quo of classical music concerts. This is a field that is dominated by men. I mean, the legends of our art's history, Mozart, Beethoven, and Brahms, and all these guys, they created, enduring art that really inspires us, and it's beautiful, and we love it. But unfortunately, there's a system in place that features their art almost to the exclusion of everyone else's art. And as a woman-led organization, we've been challenging this from our start. We've been programming the music of women and people of color since the beginning. We try to do at least one on every concert. and sometimes an entire concert, right? So this is definitely not our first concert of program where the music is all by women, but it's really the first time we've put this, headline on it. Like, pay attention to this, this is happening. And so with this concert, we're really saying loud and clear, it's time to stop marginalizing women composers, and it's time to stop putting just one or two women on an entire season of programming, and the rest is all men. This is common industry practice. It's time to stop that. The art is there. If you're not programming it, if you're not hearing it, at this point, it's almost an intentional ignorance, to claim that there isn't enough music or isn't music that can be programmed alongside Beethoven or Brahms. The music is there. And we are so excited to share an entire program with you of this great music that's playful and beautiful and sorrowful and moving and incredibly intelligent and well-crafted music. And we have a whole night of it for you. It's going to be really great. And we will start, actually, I'm really excited because with a piece of music I've never heard, and neither has anybody else. You're the first room full of people ever to hear this brand new piece that we commissioned by Stephanie Berg to write, and she is here tonight. So she's going to come on up and tell us about her brand new piece that we asked her to write to be a part of this program. We met Stephanie, well, we met you a long time ago, but 2 years ago, we commissioned her to write a piece for us. So this is your second work that you've done with Chamber Project. The first one was called Nocturne.
Yes.
And it was really cool and very evocative of nighttime. And so we asked you to do a piece for #Time's Up. And we said, just you being you is enough. You don't need to do something that relates directly to that movement, but you did. So your piece is who we are, and tell us a little about it.
Well, it was such an honor to, first of all, just be on this program in general, but then to be on a program with such significance and such meaning behind it. I couldn't not say something. When you think about it, we have millennia's worth of cultures and institutions that have repeatedly, through various increasingly aggressive means, told women that their place in the world is only what it relates to men and how it relates to them, and specifically is under men. And yet, what we see throughout history, if you look, are again and again women who put their foot down and stand up and say, I am more than that. I am really struck by that tenacity of spirit, that inability, that unquenchableness to know who we are and who we need to be.
Yes.
And we see that in women, we see that in minorities, we see that in everybody around us. And I think that we're finally starting to give voices and give credence to these people that we have assumed were lesser than us. We're starting to understand the value of each other. We're starting to understand the necessity for recognizing who we ourselves are, but also who the people that we share space with are as well. And this piece is really my anthem to that unquenchable spirit. It has been such a pleasure to write, and I am so honored to be able to present this to you, and I do hope you enjoy. Thank you all so much for being here.
Our next piece is by Pulitzer Prize winning composer Caroline Shaw. And this is one of our favorite pieces Valentina has performed it for us. It's for solo cello. I don't know, 3 or 4 times now. There's a chance you can come to our concerts. We love this piece. And Valentina actually did chamber music with Caroline Shaw in school, right? Yeah. So they know each other, which is also cool. Now she's gone on to win a Pulitzer Prize, and she's having this really fantastic career. And this piece is inspired by Caroline's experience of going into a big cathedral and hearing a motet, I think by Thomas Tallis. So this is very old, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, this music. And a motet is a piece that's for just solo voices, right, a cappella voices. And they're usually pretty complicated. If you've ever heard music in a cathedral, you know that it has this it bounces, you know, all around the big spaces, and it has this sort of three-dimensional feeling to it, because it seems non-directional by the time it's bounced all around. And so she went, she heard this piece, and she was really inspired, and so she wrote this piece as a response. So she titled it the same thing. I can't pronounce it in Latin. You want to help us with that?
In manos tuas.
Latin teacher right here. Say it again.
In manos tuas.
In manos tuas. And so she titled it the same, but it's in no way a part, like you know, that piece at all. She doesn't use the melody or anything like that. It's a reflection of how she felt while she was listening to that piece in that specific space. And so every time Valentina performs this, it's a little bit different. It's the way it's written, the cellist gets to make choices of how long a particular gesture lasts. So however she feels, right? You'll hear some different techniques. Some of it's very, very quiet. Valentina sings as she plays a bit of this. And so it really takes this experience of a giant cathedral with lots of voices into a room just like this, kind of perfectly, right? It just distills it into this smaller space like this. So hope you enjoy it. Florence was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, to a middle-class family, and she displayed really great musical talents at a very young age on the piano. But none of the white music teachers in town would take her as a student. So she studied with her mother, studied very hard, and was accepted to the New England Conservatory of Music, where she was one of 3 African-American students at her time when she was there. And it is there that she began to compose, and in addition to studying the piano. And she pursued her work as a composer, and moved back to Arkansas, got married, and started a young family. But she fled Little Rock under very, very real threat to her and her family from racial violence, and she fled to Chicago. And it was in Chicago that she was able to establish herself as a composer. And as a single mother, she was able to compose and arrange music and teach piano and perform and have a career as a classical musician. And she had, of course, many challenges. And in 1943, she sent a letter to Sergei Kusevitsky, who is the very famous conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, acknowledging what she was up against. She said, "I have 2 handicaps." She wrote, "I'm a woman, and I have some Negro blood in my veins." However, she refused to be pigeonholed by white promoters and white people, you know, programming the concerts as a composer of Black music. She insisted upon her works that were in the more tradition, the classical tradition being performed. At risk to herself, but she succeeded, and she had a lot of network that really supported her, most famously the singer Marian Anderson, and her concert at the Lincoln Memorial finished that concert, that legendary concert, and with a piece arranged by Florence Price, and they worked together to make sure that Florence's music, that she was paid what she should be paid for her music and her arrangements, and so she had this network that really supported her, and she was able to have this very successful career. And she died pretty young, unfortunately, and her music has sort of, she had some fame in her time, it sort of faded into the shadows. And then pretty recently, a couple bought a house on the south side of Chicago, and they found boxes of manuscripts of Florence Price's music. Hundreds of pieces of music, many of which were unknown and unpublished. And so the University of Arkansas holds her archives, and they are publishing them as fast as they can. And this is one of those pieces, is the string quartet. So just a couple of years ago, this has been published. And so it's really exciting to perform this for you tonight. It's a really beautiful piece. I love it the very first time I heard it. I think it's just really gorgeous. So look forward to hearing a lot more of her music in the coming years. You're going to get a lot of stage time.
Yes, congratulations. It really is. I'm very pleased. My 14-year-old son.
Get a picture of me. Oh.
Oh, okay, that is a small plate.
So before we continue, I'd like to thank Ed and Jacobs for inviting us here, and to Swick for hosting us. And I want to be sure to invite you to please vote for your favorite piece on the program. Hopefully you've got a ballot in your program, and when you leave, you'll see some pens if you don't have one. And I feel like this is going to be a tough choice tonight to vote for your favorite piece of the program. And then on May 17th, you can come into St. Louis as we play our annual Audience Choice Concert and hear the winners from our whole season. So we'll put them all, smash them all up under one program. And I feel like this is going to be a tough one. So we do this again. If you really like this concert too, you can come next week. We play it again at the Missouri History Museum on Saturday night. So you can stuff the ballot if there's something you really like. So our final piece of the program is by Ellen Taft Village. She got a degree in the violin and is a very good violinist, and got a job in the American Symphony Orchestra under Leopold Stokowski in New York in the 60s. And in 1975, she was the first woman to graduate with a doctorate in composition from Juilliard. So she went back to school, having worked for some time. And in 1982, her orchestra, the American Symphony Orchestra, premiered her first symphony. And it won a Pulitzer Prize. And she was the first woman to win a Pulitzer Prize in music in 1983. And I, until about a year ago, had never heard of her. So I was like, how did I not know about this amazing woman composer? And I started listening to her music, and this piece you're going to hear really, really resonated with me. I think this is such a great piece. It was commissioned in 2011 by a consortium of presenters for a touring ensemble, and she was inspired by a piece by Franz Schubert, who wrote the Trout Quintet, which we actually played about a year ago. And the Trout Quintet is one of the most famous pieces of chamber music in the history of chamber music, and it's for this somewhat unusual set of instruments. Usually you would have two violins, a viola, a cello, and a piano. And Schubert wrote for one violin and then added bass. So he kind of changed up the instrumentation just a little bit. And for that famous piece, the Trout Quintet. And Ellen thought, well, I'm going to write for that same instrumentation. I love the bass, I'm going to include it. And not only did she write for the instrumentation, but she took inspiration from that piece, especially for the second music, movement. You can see in your program, she says, the moody trout, right? And so you might expect some Schubert in here, but there isn't any Schubert. It's very bluesy, and that will be very clear to you. And it's very playful and fun, the second movement, I think, and you kind of can decide what happens to the trout in the end. The piece begins with this sort of serious first movement, and it goes back and forth between this sort of somber, strong, slow music and this very jagged and fast music. And it goes back and forth between those two, and you'll notice that the instruments frequently come in what we might call in stretto, like they kind of one after another play the same thing very, very quickly, one at a time, and then that kind of will repeat, maybe it goes up and then it goes down. That happens a lot in the first movement. And then in the second movement, we have this kind of bluesy, fun thing. And then in the third movement, she sort of blends those two concepts together. And she has this very rhythmic, energetic thing come back, but it now has this sort of bluesy flavor picked up from the second movement. And I really enjoy this piece, and I hope you do too.